Making the plan. So many of us have no interest in planning for bad things that could or might happen. My guest today is going to hopefully change your mind on some of those things that we need to think about as we and our loved ones start aging. Princella Seymour's 30-year career has solidified her as a preeminent expert on solutions for the aging community. The heartbeat of her mission: love, family, and dignity. As a national advocate for revolutionizing elder care and transforming confusion into clarity, she has served as vice president of the 120,000 plus member of the National Association of Social Workers, as well as historically being part of the Aging Life Care Association. Princella's new book, Everything You Need to Know About Me, addresses those challenges families face when honoring their loved ones' wishes. She has a rich insight on everything from funding long-term care, including various insurance and savings strategies, to handling the emotional and logistical questions around choosing between aging in place or moving to different care settings. As CEO of Complete Elder Solutions, Princella has helped thousands. She and her team ensure that families never have to navigate the complexities of aging alone and provide personalized solutions that honor the dignity of every individual. Please join me in welcoming today's guest on Embracing Life After 60, Princella Seymour. In today's world, older adults face major transitions like downsizing, relocating, or modifying their homes to age in place, all while embracing life after these changes. As a senior home advisor and seasoned realtor, Robin McCoy guides these decisions with care and thoughtful planning, helping create a vibrant future. Welcome to Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60 with me, your host, Robin McCoy. Princella, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm really excited to hear about all the things that you've got going for seniors and how we can help them.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. Such a pleasure.
Well, and as we were chatting a little bit before going on, hitting that record button, you have been in this senior industry for a very long time. In fact, you called your seniors your babies a little bit ago. What drew you into this, working with this community and this generation?
Robin, and this is the honest truth. This is not something we can make up. Some people are born to do a particular thing. Now, there are others that 50 years to figure out their purpose on life, right? Mm-hmm. You ever heard that statement, I want to figure out what I want to be when I grow up? And when I look back retrospectively, that was never an issue for me. And this is the truth. I was the little candy girl in the neighborhood for the seniors. Didn't realize that they were seniors, but now I look back, these were elderly. These was the women that would say, can you go to the store? Can you purchase some cookies for me? And I'd make 10 cents or 25 cents in the 70s. That was a lot of money.
That's a
right?
lot. That was good. That was
good money.
Change.
So I was an entrepreneur. At 10 years old, and it was safe to walk the streets then because you can go to the corner store, you can buy the salt that someone's needing that they're cooking. So I realized that I was working for seniors when I was a kid. And when I graduated from high school, that's the first thing I did. I went into nursing. So I became a CNA. Then I like this. I like the seniors. Never moved from any population. So I need you to understand this. Never moved from any. So I'm saying 30. I would say even 40 years because I was my own entrepreneur at 10 and 11 years old. And so from that to being a CNA to going to school to be a nurse, then I ended up in the nursing home. My mom was critically ill at 58 years old. On her deathbed, I was going through a transition as far as employment because the company was closing. And I said, I was offered a job in a nursing home, had never stepped in a nursing home ever. And I thought, this is going to be interesting. And the last thing she told me before she took her breath was go. Go and do it and help others.
Do it.
And I said, okay, it's going to be scary. I'm going to walk out on the water and and if I sink, I know I'll know I'll survive. And from there, from early 2002, I became the director of social services. So I worked with the seniors and their families now going into extending into complete elder solutions, that has definitely been a almost 30-40 year journey.
Wow.
So
you
all
know
I
a
know
little
is
bit
seniors.
about this.
I
You
know
know
a
a little
lot
bit
about
about this.
I
So,
understand the dynamics. Yes.
yeah, I mean, and I think that's important for people to understand because there are dynamics that are unique to this population.
Right. Exactly.
You
There
know,
is. Yes. Yes.
and unfortunately, as we age and our loved ones age, we don't realize all the things that are going to happen, that could change, that just makes your living environment and everything different. And that's why it's important to have, I mean, somebody that's been doing this for 40 years and
Yes.
and you look like you could be doing it another 40. So, it's, you still got those years in you So tell me a little bit. So we talked about senior case management, right? And what a case manager might do. Like, what's the definition of that, and why would somebody need one?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. So why would you need one in a definition? The definition, I like to say, your case manager is your navigator. She's your thinker. She's your go-to. She's that person that you think of pretty much the same way you would think of your attorney or your financial advisor. I don't move money unless I speak to X, Y, and Z. I want to make a major decision or things are going on. I need to increase my retirement. I need to decrease. I need to move. Who do you call? You call your financial advisor. Something is going on legally, rather good or bad. Who do you call? I'm going to make sure that I'm doing my estate planning. And those are the people that put things fixed in place for you. But a geriatric case manager will navigate all the terrains with you during the different stages and during the process. We will also make sure that you have the resources and are aware of the resources. Okay. So someone seasoned like myself at Complete Elder Solutions, it just spits out. So I always like to tell people, your help is only as great as what I know. So that's why you're confused many times when you call different organizations and you feel like you didn't get anything, because that person on the other end probably have only been doing this for 1 year or 6 months, but you don't know that, right? You just feel like you made the call. So when you join in a relationship with a geriatric case management, we make sure you're never lost during the process. We make sure we get the answers. You should be able to live your life. You should be able to keep your job, not have to leave your job. You should be able to continue on in your career and trust someone to make sure. We go even as far as making sure the appointments are scheduled. You don't have to do that. So with a geriatric case manager, you can pretty much put together those things that you want. So like in our program, you can say, well, I can do this. I can do the financial part. I can make sure the bills are paid. But Princella, I'm just not good with scheduling appointments or making sure that the families, because it's 5 of us, and I want to make sure that all of us are on the same pace. And I'm not good with that. Can you create a group so that we all are on the same? So this geriatric case manager will keep you definitely focused, should be decreasing anxiety by at least 50%. So if you want to stay in your career, not have to change your career, not have to also deal with the feelings of guilt because I don't know what to do. And more importantly, most of the time when these things are happening, Robert, you don't even know who to call or turn to.
No,
you're
you don't.
Figuring it out. You're online Googling and searching, trying to figure it out, when your geriatric case manager can put it all together, you probably in one phone call. But you need to stay in also.
And you're talking from the perspective of maybe the adult children. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that is huge. And I think that is one thing that the adult children of an aging population, their parents, their aunts, their grandparents, their loved ones, whatever that is, they don't understand how traumatic this can be. It can be, I mean, you mentioned guilt. Huge amounts of guilt that you can't do what you feel like you should. Like you said, caregiving. And I think a lot of people don't realize that they are caregivers. even if they're just going to the grocery store for mom.
You are a caregiver. And Robin, may I add, the divorce rate, people don't think about this, but the divorce rate is significantly high during this time. Why?
Yeah.
Because now I'm giving more attention to my aging mother or my aging father, and the attention used to, the spouse or the children or the grandchildren. So the divorce rate is extremely high during this,
and that's
because there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure. I mean, so anybody that's listened to my show before knows I use my own example with my mother, who she her legs she lost use of her legs. We'll just leave it at that. She had spinal stenosis real bad, and it was just slowly then suddenly, right? Slowly then suddenly. And the amount of stress that comes down to just finding a place, getting to the doctors, figuring out what's wrong, making sure she's still eating, taking care of her needs, all these things that happen urgently.
Exactly.
And you still have a job, and you still have a family, and you still have, and so
your
just
own responsibilities.
Yeah, the anxiety and the anxiousness and the guilt. The guilt is probably one of the biggest ones, because you can't fix it and you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do.
And caregiving can come at any age, any phase.
Yeah, it can
come to a relative. I did not have the honor of taking care of my aging mother. She died when I was very young. She was 58 years old. My father, on the other hand, I did, but he just felt that I was, because I knew everything. You're going to put me in a nursing home and just put me away. So, and unfortunately, when he was in that position, I was a director in a facility, so I was able to have him there with me. And then he just felt like, he can get anything he wants because I'm there. But so that was interesting also. That was another level of stress.
Yeah.
Because now I've got my father here with this spirit of entitlement that's going on.
And he's telling all the CNAs and everyone, you know who my daughter is.
Yeah, exactly. But Robin, it can happen at any moment, because
yes, it can.
I will tell you, and this is why I mentioned the divorce rate. Though I didn't have a long time to take care of my father, and I didn't take care of my mother, maybe a year. God rest her soul, she died of breast cancer. But my sister was 54 years old, and she was sitting in her car, and she got riddled with bullets. Okay? Oh. Bullets 2 years ago. And so 2 years ago, she was not a target, riddled down with bullets. When she woke up, she was in the hospital, life support for months. I was advocating. Now, that was stressful, but I bring in marriage, because now I'm married. And I was living in 2.5, 3 hours away. So I'm traveling. And then my poor husband is left to have to figure out meals and different things. And I can see where, God, thank you for him, because he was patient. He's like, this is what family's for. But I couldn't imagine doing this for 3 and 4 years. I would have seen the change. So it's important. Now, I became my care manager to myself because I knew things to do. But also, I was smart enough to make phone calls, because now I had to remove myself from being a professional to being a sister and a caregiver.
Exactly. And I think
I too hired someone to bounce something back off.
And I think that's brilliant. And I'm glad you bring that up, because, a very good friend of mine, and she's been on the show before. Her name is Pat Nixon, and she is here in the DFW area. She owns a couple of care homes. She owns a home care company. She owns, and she's been in this in this industry for a very long time, because when she was a nurse, and when her dad got sick, he's coming home, and she was his nurse and not his daughter in his last years. And she said, I don't want anybody else to not, you need to be a daughter in this time, not a caregiver.
Right. Exactly.
And so that's where she kind of took her path. Now, I didn't know there were care managers until recently. I didn't know there were people that can help navigate this, especially if you've got multiple siblings right? Or the individual themselves maybe not have kids, or they live somewhere else.
Somewhere else, exactly.
Because we're so scattered anymore.
We're not a village. We don't live next door anymore.
No, we don't. And so having that hub, right, that person that is in the location can take that stress off of you in Oklahoma City, Virginia, Washington, wherever you are.
Exactly. And your care manager doesn't have to be local because yeah, you don't have to be local. So our service, we provide service nationwide. Why do I say that? Because a need is a need.
Right.
And I'm on with you now. I'm looking at you. We're having a conversation, right? So we can do the same thing. We can provide that service virtually. Because whatever you need in Florida, if you have a broken hip, you need it in Texas also. You need advice. You need consultation, right? Because your geriatric case manager is not the one-on-one caregiver. She's your consultant.
Right.
So you can speak and talk to someone. I mean, I've done podcasts in Nigeria, so we get referrals. And so remember, England, London. So what you need here in Florida, you need the same thing in Texas, California.
I guess so. And a lot of, once you get to a certain point, Medicare, Medicaid, a lot of those are federal resources.
They're federal resources.
So it's not a state-driven thing.
Exactly. Right. So if you need Medicaid, you need Medicaid in Texas. You need it.
Let's talk about like resources for a minute, because that is, that's a serious concern, right? And why people stay where they are, and they say, I'm going to age right here, I'm going to age in place, and then it's not safe, or they fall, or they don't have the funds to go into whatever it may be. So at what point, I mean, how does one navigate their resources? What are the resources, whether it's Medicaid or something else? How do you navigate that? Because they certainly don't make it easy.
Oh, no, you definitely need a professional. You would definitely need to hire a professional for sure. And so the only way to navigate this is to be exposed to it. Because right now, most people do not understand what Medicare covers and what they do not cover.
Most seniors think that, and my mother to this day, even though I've told her a dozen times, that Medicare does not cover housing. I said, never at all, ever in the history or the future of time on this planet will Medicare cover housing. It's a health insurance policy.
Health insurance policy. And that's it. Health insurance policy. Okay. So with that being said, if you don't know, then how do you know to even use the resource on your elderly parent? Okay. Yes. Because we don't go through the book and figure out Medicare. So there are different resources. You've got Medicare, which is federal. You've got Medicaid, which is state. And there's a criteria. Obviously, you've got to know the criteria in order to navigate through the terrains of it. Okay. So it's not go on the website and apply for Medicaid and I'm going to get it. You've got to understand the statutes, the laws, and understand the regulations in order to qualify. Then you've got veterans. You've got a lot of benefits out there for veterans. You've got one that I like to use pretty often is the aid and attendance program, where if you served in the military, 65 and older, served at least one time during war period. I think my battery is running. Let me plug it up. So sorry.
Oh no.
I can't have that. We can't have that.
Technology's awesome until it's not, right?
Perfect. And it's done already, right? So
there we go.
And so with that benefit will help pay towards care in home if you served at least one day, at least 90 days, received an honorable discharge. It will pay funds towards care for a veteran and his spouse or a surviving spouse. And you'll never get that when you go to the VA. They're not going to, it's not on the billboard. No one's going to announce it.
It doesn't have it on the wall here that says, here, sign here to get money. Your...
Exactly. But so those that want to stay at home, you can get up to, I think right now for the veterans, it's up to $1,600 tax-free. Surviving spouse, $1,100-$1,200 tax-free towards your direct care. If you want to go to an assisted living facility, it pays towards the care there at an assisted living facility. If you're 100% disabled, you have nursing homes that have contracts with the VA and they pay for it.
We Are One Heart is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to bridging the gap between the needs and resources of low-income seniors and veterans. Rooted in compassion and love, our mission is to provide housing, living assistance, and access to critical resources that ensure dignity and support for the elderly in underserved communities. At the heart of We Are One Heart's work is the belief that every individual shares a common humanity, a heart connected through love and care. We are committed to creating a future that honors those who have shaped the past by offering programs and services that enhance their quality of life. For more information or to donate, visit wa1h.org. That's wa1h.org.
So people don't know. So this is what your care manager is supposed to do. Bring these resources. These are the financial resources. Okay.
Yes, because it's important.
Yeah, it's important. You want to look at your portfolio. You want to take a look and say, I want to live here. And how many years can I live out? How can I budget? How can I plan so that this happens, so that the financial burden is not placed upon my children or my family members? Because that's another big one. Sometimes
and that's what you said a key word. You said a key word, and that's planning. And I think people don't want, I talk to state attorneys all the time. I do talks here in town, and there are people in that room that are 70 years old and do not have a will, much less anything else. They have no estate plan.
They feel like they don't need it. And they also
feel like they don't need it. And that just, that just makes my head spin. The number of real estate transactions I've had where no will was involved, just that. But let's think about all the other things. So a plan, nobody likes to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about, I'm getting older, I could get sick, I could fall. Mom, nobody wants to bring it up to mom and dad sure as hell don't want to talk about it.
So you visited my website, right? So obviously, and I don't know if it's permissible to even mention this because you probably may edit it out. But on my website, if you notice, because you talked about planning and no one wants to talk about it and no one gives you the information, right? Because we move out from our families or our parents and we don't know, sometimes we don't even know who they bank with. Okay. Because they open up an account here and I didn't know Mom had an account over at Bank of America. I thought everything was at Wells Fargo or at Truist, right? So in the midst of all the terrains and working in the industry, I did create a book. You probably saw it on the website. Okay.
And we're going to link this book just so everybody knows in the show notes and with everything because this is important. Here,
and it's everything you need to know about me. And it's in this book. It's not a book to read. It's a book to inform and for you to make sure that your children, Robin, knows where to go to find all these things. Now, that in itself, any estate planner, any lawyer would say this is a lifesaver. Because a lot of times, if you don't have a will, you don't have your power of attorney in place, you don't have these things, you're on your way to guardianship. You're on your way to a judge making decisions for you, for your mom. And can I tell you, it's expensive. It's expensive. It's cumbersome. You have to get court orders for pretty much when you want to turn left and right. You do not want to be caught in that situation. So I created that book so that, okay, Robin, you don't want to talk about it to your children now. I get it. Fill it out. Put it in a safe. Put it in a safe place where they can go back so that if that moment happened, and it can happen at any time. Doesn't have to be at 90. Age. Remember, 54 years old, and I spoke with my sister every day, all day. I did not know her insurance. Shame on me, but because we were young, right? Yeah. I didn't know her insurance. I didn't know she had a disability insurance. Never knew it. Didn't know how to pay her mortgage. Didn't know when her bills were due. So I had to go through mail and figure it out. So in that book, I created a space in there for you to tell your son or your daughter, I pay my mortgage on this day, and this is who is paid, and this is the amount.
And this is the account number.
And the account number. Here's the username. Here's the password. Here's everything that you need to do to log in and get started.
Yep.
And that's
just so important.
It's so important.
It's so important. I just
nights of headaches.
And there's several of those kinds of books out there, and it just guides you to what somebody's going to need. Right. And and you've got a program, and tell me about it. It's like your insurance or your go-to person that you can just pick up the phone and say, help me. I need to know, or I need to do.
Instead of you having insurance, you have assurance.
Assurance.
You have assurance that someone's going to help you move through the terrain. So you can become an elite person where you just want your hands held on a day-to-day. These are more your people that are like really into your career and, this is what I need. But at the end of the day, no matter what kind of member you become, you're going to be able to pick up that phone, speak to someone and say, help me here. I'm stuck here. I did go look at 3 facilities, or I want to go look. I don't even know the questions to ask when I'm there.
Yeah.
What do I ask? Or how do I interview a caregiver?
Yeah.
How do I know one fits well for my mom?
That's right.
And so it's your thinker. It becomes your thinker. It becomes your coach. It becomes that person you can outlet, and you cannot, and it's a safe place. I like to always say to my clients, you're in a safe place.
However, when I was going through this with my mother, I had 3 people in my world, and I have resources, right? I knew Pat Nixon, who knew everybody in town. I knew Kimberly Truax, who owns her own senior living memory care community. She built it from the ground up. She's been in home care, senior home care for decades. They got me in touch with, Carol Thomas, who does placement all over the city for this. So I had resources.
Exactly.
And I still didn't know what I was doing.
And you still didn't know. You still felt lost.
And they
still felt lost.
They talk me off ledges. They listen to me cry. They listen to me cuss. They listen to me go off on what is going on. We are not taking care of our parents. We are the anger and the frustration, and they listen to it all.
And
then I was able to wipe my tears and go, okay,
I can do this. I can do this. Exactly.
Yeah.
I can do this. Exactly.
Because this is hard, man. I need people to know how hard this is.
This is
not
hard.
just, I'll go pick mom up and go put her over here and she'll live happily ever after and be happy. There is so much between here and living happily after.
It's so much that goes in between.
Exactly. And it's, I get all worked up.
I get worked up too, because I'm like, I know the feeling, and I'm always, and my husband always say, oh my God, you're always so preppery. And I said, it always gives me honor to know, and I feel so great when people have gotten what they paid for. When they say, thank God for you. I didn't know this. I didn't know this even exists. Like you said, you're in the industry and you never knew that care managers even exist. That's why I am becoming the voice.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm becoming the voice.
Because they're in every community. I was at a conference, and Amory Cameron O'Rourke was one of the speakers, and she wrote a book called The Fragile Years, and that's where I learned about case management and elder case management was from her. And I went, okay, so this is a thing. And then when, I heard about you, I said, I need to have her on the show, because we need people to understand that there are resources out there that can help them.
Right. There's a live person. There's not a call center where you're just calling and someone reading a script. You're going to, you're an individual. You have a tailored, specific need. They're pretty similar, but your concern may be just a tad bit different.
So if you've met a senior, you've met one senior.
Right.
You've met one.
Yeah. So you will call and there's a script. Okay, thank you for calling in. No, you're going to get someone that will listen to you, hear you out, and then direct based on your personal need. Personal need.
And I think, because again, there are people out there that don't have children, right? Personally, I never had children. I have 2 bonus kids that we all get along great, and I employed one and the other one lives with me, so I'm guessing I'm good if I ever need him to take care of me.
Yes.
That's the goal, right? So, but there's a lot of people that don't have someone that they can necessarily rely on when they get when they
Yeah.
get to a point where they can no longer take care of themselves.
And I'm it.
And so
I'm
now they're
guardians,
calling you, right? They're like, I am
guardians, I'm
84.
surrogates. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
guardians, I'm their surrogates. I am their decision maker. So
And you are better
that's
to do
something.
that than a judge in a courtroom who knows nothing about you.
Nothing, not anything one-on-one,
Yeah.
because
They've got a
become your
paper
family.
file. They're looking at this file and they're going, all right, well, Princella, she doesn't have any kids. She lives in, here, so let's go take her over there. And then they're done.
They're done. No, they don't even do that. They'll call someone else, appoint a guardian who knows nothing about you, and it's just a job. But these people become family. I am still caring for someone 11 years now.
Wow.
I just eulogized my one that I was one-on-one. She had a daughter, but she had a very high-profile job, and so she had no siblings. So she and I are like sisters because we rode this thing out.
Yeah.
So much so she passed away on Christmas Eve, and we packed up, and she was imminently passing that day, and my entire family went. We spent Christmas Eve with her because this has become the family now, right?
Yeah.
She and I are still very close. Her mom is now long gone, but she was like my first or second client. I can't ever figure out which one came. I think they came a day apart, and they stay in, and you eulogize them.
Yeah.
Like I said, definitely the ones that doesn't have a family. I have a furry one, so you hear over there. I'm sorry. I was hoping that didn't happen, but what am I gonna do with it?
It's gonna. That's life. Life just keeps happening, doesn't it?
Oh God. So so those, then we have that group of people that doesn't have anyone, or they outlived their children, or they outlived all their siblings, and that's another big job that we have in our office is for those that doesn't have anyone. And I like when they start planning ahead. Okay, I'm 80 years old. I heard about you. I want to go ahead and establish this relationship because I am getting older. You get to still make your decisions. I get to learn, or we get to learn and know who you are. And then that way, when the things happen, we can really advocate from the heart. So you don't have to have a care manager or need a care manager because you're in crisis. Okay, you're right. That's the whole purpose of the assurance program.
Yeah.
I'm not so much in crisis. I need to have this so that if I'm driving and I have a flat tire, I pick up the phone and I call Progressive State Farm. You see? So you get insurance to be assured. So that's how we are. You join our program to be assured that when this happens, Robin knows that she's going to call her friend because she's already, X, Y, and Z.
Well, because I would say, it's interesting the way you said that. You don't need to be in crisis. So let's just say, at what point should it start to, should somebody start thinking about, maybe I need to, I guess it's part of the whole aging plan, right?
It is a part of the aging plan.
My will and trust are in order. My this is in order. So it's just another leg of that stool, I guess.
So just when you start thinking about, let me look at my portfolio, my retirement portfolio, or let me go to my attorney because I just came out of the hospital. I'm doing great. I don't have a terminal diagnosis. I'm 75, I'm 80. I'm going to go ahead and put things in place because that's usually the age you start saying, let me go ahead and start my wills, although you can start it sooner. But right at that moment,
when you start your will at 18. At 18, you need a will. I say that, don't give me a microphone and talk about wills.
Yeah. So that's when you will start a program like us. So you can become a member for like $19.99 for the year just to be able to have the assurance. We tailor it so that the whole idea or focus of that assurance program is to be the insurance. So even with your insurance company, you pay them $500 a month or $5,000 a year. You may not use it that year, but when you do use it, you'll say it was well spent.
Yes.
When you do use it. So that's the same thing. It is there in place so that when this does happen, I'm all set and I'm all ready to go. Okay. I know who handles my financial planning. I know who handles the financial planning. I know who handles my attorney. Now I need my terrain. Now I need my navigator. Once you have that in place, you're good to go.
So See, and this is just something that, again, because nobody wants to talk about it, I don't think people investigate it. You told a story before we went on, before we went live on this, that there was a 90-year-old gentleman, 90 plus, who's fine in good health and walking around and doing his best life at 90, and decided he needed to cut a limb off a tree, and everything changes.
And everything changed. And mind you, might I tell you, he wasn't on any medication. Healthy.
Healthy as a
and
can
the
be.
moment changed. Yeah, and the moment changed, and that was that.
Well, I mean, and like I said, I'm 60. I'm 61. I can climb on a step ladder and fall off of it and hurt myself.
My husband says it all the time. He says, listen, I'm not going on a ladder at this age. I'm not going to do, we're going to call someone. I'm like, please don't, because that could be the moment. Because we're not the same.
And fortunately, we at 50 or 60, you might bounce back a little better than at 90.
90.
But it's still going to hurt.
90, you probably won't bounce back.
Yeah.
You probably won't. At least not to do the things you used to do. At least.
Exactly. And that's kind of the idea of this is, just because you are doing great and you're healthy, that's amazing. And nobody wants to stop that life at all. We want to encourage it. And yet you need to have a plan B. You need to have a backup plan should something happen.
Should something happen, you got to have that backup plan. And again, you've got to, because that moment will happen. It's a matter of when the moment will become the moment. Yeah. But it will happen.
Yeah.
It will happen.
So tell me something I didn't ask you. What didn't I mention? What did we, because I feel like we talked about a lot of things. What did I miss? What do you want to make sure that anybody listening gets out of this?
I don't think we really missed anything, because what I love about this is we spoke to everyday people. Yeah. We both have been transparent, but I want everyone to know it's never, ever too soon to plan. Like, I can't say that loud enough. There are resources out there. Make sure you are in touch with your resources. Be prepared. The moment will come. It's the matter of when it will come. If you live long enough, the inevitable will happen.
Yes.
Talk to your families. Make sure you have your circle. And even if that circle is one person, have that one person. Make sure you build your village and be secure and know that you have it. And we are always available, obviously, because we serve clients nationwide. So I don't need to walk into your door and tell you what to do. But you want to make sure that you're prepared and have your group, have your network. I can't stress that. Your attorney and your financial advisor won't navigate the terrains. They're just not enough.
Well, they're not knowledgeable in that. That's not their lane.
Exactly.
Right? It's not their lane. And so to rely on them for something that they don't do every day.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a liability. It just becomes a liability.
Yeah, and that's not what they're trained in. They're not,
No, it's nothing against them. But I'm not going, I'm not going to go to my financial planner to, fill a cavity in my teeth either.
Exactly. You don't go to your chiro. You don't go to the chiro when you have heart problems. Okay.
No, there's just make sure you're talking to everybody stays in their lane. And I think one thing too about this, and one of the things I'm grateful to have people like you on my show, is we tend to silo, right? So we all work in our silos when really we need to be all out together, because everything blends so much with each other that I can say, okay, you need to call a senior case manager. Well, that's going to be your financial planner. You want to call them. Now, that's the estate attorney you want to talk to.
Right.
But we need we all need to be able to know who is better suited for whatever circumstance comes about. Exactly. That's a word salad of just trying to get it all out.
Exactly. And you know what, Robin, you heard me say time after time, we get married together. And I said that for a reason, because we all have our own significant expertise.
Yeah.
Law, finance, social. And when you have the three on your team, aging should be very successful.
Yeah.
You
That's
also,
it's
as
a
a
three-legged
child,
stool, man. It's a three-legged
exactly.
stool.
It's a look exactly. And so that's my story. I'm going to stick to it. We all need to be together. We all need to. And I'd even say your coach is probably even more, because she's going to make, if you don't have it, she's the one that's going to push you in that direction to say,
Well,
hey, we need to speak to X, Y, and Z, or we need to speak. So really, I'm the forerunner many times.
well, it's interesting the way you said that too. Because I say the realtor is the last, people say the realtor is the last person I need. Well, it may be so, like to sell in the house is the last thing, but we're also the first people because we know everybody else.
We know, you all communicate with
We know everybody else. We know when somebody calls me from Minnesota and says, my mother lives in Dallas and we need some help taking care of ABC, then I know, okay, you may need a case manager. You may need the decluttering person. You may need an insurance person. You may need to talk to her. Does she have this? Whatever those things are, we know all the people. And you're one of the spokes in my wheel.
Right. Exactly.
So
exactly. Yeah. Cause we in my earlier days, we had, senior transition company moving them. And so again, I agree with you. The realtor, you really get involved with the dynamics. You understand the family dynamics. They stress, they load off everything because they're selling their home, moving to a 55 and older community, or they're moving into an assisted living facility. So it's a big, we work with a lot of, realtors, and so we come together.
And it is. And that's why I say, we tend to live our lives in silos, and we can't. Not anymore, and not with this community.
Not with this community.
This community we have got to come out of those silos and understand where all the other resources are that can help these seniors, because they may not have somebody to help them or know where those resources are.
Exactly.
So,
now, do you have any questions for me?
I just think I think you answered them all. I think I would say it's never too early to call and ask some questions. It's never too early to ask questions, see what the costs of something like this might be, because it's going to be different everywhere. So I'm not even going to go down the road of cost, because every person is different.
Right.
But understand what that is, and ask the questions so that we know what our needs are and how you can help us.
Right.
Ask all those burning questions that we all have, that we just go, I wonder. And then we get on the Google, or we get on the Chat GPT. And while that will give you an overview, make the call. Pick up the phone and call up Princella and say, all right, I am X and I live here, and tell me what I need.
When should I plan? I noticed this. I noticed that. I mean, even just a 15-minute conversation will get the wheels turning.
Yeah.
And by the way, you can call and ask questions for free.
Yeah.
Just call.
Call.
Figure it out what you need.
Yeah.
You understand? There's no obligation to call. Call, ask the question.
And it's never too early. And it's never too early to call, whether you're calling for yourself or your mom.
Or your mom, exactly. It's never, ever the inevitable. So it's never, like I said, if you feel good about having homeowners insurance, auto insurance, then you definitely should feel good about if you have an elderly mother or a relative or a neighbor. Because sometimes the neighbors become, and then it's interesting where the next door neighbor is taking care of the next door neighbor, and they're both 90.
Yeah.
And they're both 85 and 90 trying to help each other out. And they're doing good. I mean, I drive, her to the store and we go together, but the inevitable. Yeah. So, So you can definitely call, ask questions, join the program. And you can also, I don't want to renew. But the idea is knowledge is power.
Right.
then you know. So you don't even have to need it now, but if you know it, that in itself becomes power. So now
something just occurred to me. Something just occurred to me. Let's say you've got, Margaret and Peggy living next door, and they're both in their 80s and 90s, but having your phone, so you've got this assurance, right? And having your phone number on the wall, on the refrigerator where EMTs look and they take pictures, right? So here's the thing, right? You should have all the important information about you or your mother on the wall, on the refrigerator, so that should something happen and EMTs come in, they know what medications, they know mom's cognitive level, they know all these things. But what phone number should they call to tell somebody you're going to the hospital?
Exactly.
Your number is if it's not mine because I live 20 minutes away, it should be yours because somebody needs to know so they can call the hospital and say, Margaret is ABCDE. She's on these medications. Her cognitive level is great. Whatever it is.
Exactly. That's exactly what you need to do. We do have a toll-free number. This is 833-404-8960. That's, again, and I like what you just said. If EMT comes in and that brings that book that we were talking about.
Yes,
have
the
it
book.
filled out. Because in there, you list your medications, list your diagnosis. So when you go to the hospital, nobody's trying to figure out, what was the past medications? Were you in the hospital recently? What happened? It's all there. So somebody can bring it.
And it's updated.
Someone can bring that. The next door neighbor can bring it and say, oh, well, Margaret, she takes X, Y, Z for this. She was just recently in the hospital for X, Y, Z reason. And so
this is the hospital she was in, so they can call.
Yes. And this is your plan of care.
It speeds up the process to get your care. Because the longer that takes, the worse your outcome.
It's a plan of care.
It's a plan of care.
This book is a plan of care. It's a plan of care. So I don't have to figure out, because I'm friends with you, Margaret, but I don't know what you take every day. I don't know your medications.
And I don't know why. You're in urgency, so now everybody's flustered and upset. And when you're upset, I mean, it happens to everybody. You get upset or flustered about something and you forget what you were saying. You're like, what was your name?
Exactly.
You don't even remember people's names. So I'm sorry, that just occurred to me with your book, that's what, when EMTs come, somebody needs to know what all that is and who to call.
And who to call. Because that's the first thing in the book. Who's your emergency contact? Who is the gatekeeper? Who speaks for me? And so, because you may be in a position where you can't.
Are you 62 or older and considering buying a home? It's important to explore all the opportunities available to you. I want to introduce you to Alicia Dutton with Mutual of Omaha Reverse Mortgage. Since 2013, Alicia has been dedicated to helping baby boomers unlock the benefits of reverse mortgages and reverse for purchase programs. Whether you are looking to stay in your current home or right-size into a new one, Alicia provides personalized attention to meet your unique needs and timeline. She is a trusted resource for financial advisors, realtors, and loan officers, and has been a guest on this podcast. She is ensuring you are educated and empowered every step of the way. Discover the possibilities with Alicia Dutton today. You can't. Imagine that. You can't.
So you've spoken because you've completed your book.
Yes.
And so my heart bleeds because I know as a case manager, you need this. It's a lifesaver. I walked through it, Robin, personally. So it's not a sales call for me at all.
No.
It's an experience. I have been loving on seniors, like I said, I've known my purpose since I was 9 or 10 years old.
Yes.
So I'm not just making up something or I came up with this bright idea, because quite frankly, people really don't care about the seniors. You don't hear a voice advocating. All they see is that's just the old person. No, that's a person. That's someone's mother. That's someone's grandmother. That's someone's auntie. There's someone's uncle. That is a person that is experiencing the same thing that we as the younger population are, and they're just as important. And they need to listen. I enjoy listening to stories. They're like full of wisdom. I call them my wise box. Sit down and tell me. I always ask them, tell me what thing you would tell me that you would do if you knew better. Like that's just the opening conversation.
Yeah.
And if you would just sit and listen to them, And if we would listen to them, oh my God, we'd be in different places because you're living by their experience. And I always tell my daughter, you don't have to experience it if someone else experienced it. Just listen to someone else's advice and their experience.
I think that is the best way to wrap this up right now.
I thought it was a good way. We got to do this again. We got to do this again and again. We've got to talk about things.
Yes.
Open enrollment is coming up. You know, helping people to understand the difference between the HMOs and why choose the different insurances and things like that. It's so many issues and so many things that we can just talk about all day long.
Well, maybe we'll find another topic soon and have you here, and we'll talk about some of the other hard things.
Yes. Robin, thank you so much for letting me join us. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And bye
thank you, folks, for tuning in to another episode of Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. Again, we'll all have in the show notes, we're going to have her website. We're going to have her book link. We're going to have all of those things so that you can access those resources. And as always, make sure you hit that subscribe button so we can continue to share the word. Thanks again and have a great one.
You too. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to Embracing Life After 60 with me, Robin McCoy. This podcast is produced by Jen Sariano with special thanks to the amazing team at Relax, I Got This. You can find more episodes on YouTube and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, follow, and share to help us spread the message. Until next time, keep embracing life to the full.